Hey everybody, Coach Matthew here with episode number 3 of the Mountaineer Mightcast. It is the second week of the season, but is the very first week that I held joint practices for my minis and juniors teams. I'm going to break down the things that I liked, the things I thought we can improve on, and how I think we're going to do for the upcoming game this Wednesday. Stay tuned. So thank you for joining me this week, episode number 3. I really appreciate everybody who is following along with these videos. I'm sure it's going to continue to grow as time goes on. I'm trying to get better. You noticed last week I had the microphone. I try and get again, seeing if I can get a better sound quality. Just as a heads up, I'm in my garage, so there is a little bit of an echo in here. But I'm going to try and do what I can to continue to bring this information and ultimately myself get better, just along with my teams. And speaking of get better, I thought this week was a great week of joint practices for both teams. I'm going to break down our Monday practice as well as our Thursday practice, kind of give you an in-depth on what we did at those practices and where I feel the team is going to be leading into the game next week. We still have one more practice to go before the game, but we are already to game time. It's gone pretty quick, and this is the best part of the season. I enjoy the practices, but I really love the games. It is volleyball all the time in my household, which is awesome. And I'm sure a lot of the other families are starting to feel that way, which I'll bring into the joint practices, bringing that up here in just a moment. So let's go ahead and start with that Monday practice. It was the very first one of the joint ones, and how I did it was the very first one, I intertwined the juniors and the minis together. I do want them to feel like one big team. Yes, they're two separate teams, but I wanted them to feel connected and get to know the other girls in there. So we did that joint one. I had the kids intertwine, and I believe for that practice, to start it out, there's 9 girls on my minis team. There's currently 11 on my junior team, but I believe I was down a player. So I believe I had 19 girls to begin with at the start of that practice. So what I did was I just split half on one, half on the other side of the court. I had them spread out where we started our warm-up drills. Luckily, having 2 hours, some of the other coaches don't have that luxury to do. They're only coaching one team, but with me having the 2 teams back to back and combining the practices, luckily I have some time to focus on, especially with the warm-up, because again, coming from the strength and conditioning profession, really just different warm-ups. A lot of coaches do static stretching to warm up. That's not something that I personally do. For me, I feel like the girls don't have a lot of issues when it comes to flexibility. I think a lot of them are pretty good right off the bat. Again, if coaches want to do that, that's fine with them. We do a little bit more of a dynamic movement warm-up. We focus on 6 to 8 different exercises, such as they will do walking high knees down just to kind of get the hips loose, get those legs up. Then we'll do some running high knees back. I do some butt kickers for the hamstrings, as well as just get muscle recruitment, get those legs firing and moving, especially when girls are excited. The last thing, in my opinion, that they want to do is when they come into practice, they're excited, ready to go, is just have them sit on the ground, grab a foot, go to the other side, grab a foot. I want to keep them moving. So that's why I do my warm-up. Again, we do a lot of the side shuffle stuff, which will come back here in a little bit when I talk about why I am so picky on the side shuffle. So I had them side shuffle back and forth. I also have them do approach step jumps. And this is something that I find very important, even at a younger age, to start to build up those footwork patternings to be able to eventually jump and hit the ball, as well as possibly perform jump serves. Now, again, I know they're young, but if you start to drill these patterns in at a young age, as soon as they get up there, they'll be able to start doing it faster than the other girls because they're just going to be so used to the movement. But again, it's also building explosiveness in younger athletes. That's something you usually don't see in a lot of younger kids. You can have some that are quick, but they're usually not explosive. And what I usually try to equate it to for my older parents out there, it always reminds me of like Scooby-Doo back in the day. Like their legs are moving, but they're not really going anywhere. That's kind of what I feel about a lot of younger kids. They're really trying, it's just the explosiveness isn't there. So I focus on doing approach steps and some pogo steps. So for instance, that approach step, I want the girls, again, if they are right-handed, they're going to do the 3-step approach jump. And this is just for their warm-up. So they're spread out, they're on their lines, and I tell them it is not about going fast. We want to make sure that we're getting quality warm-ups in. Usually if you're the first person done, you've probably tried to rush through it. And so I want them, it's like, I want you to kind of be the last girl or one of the last ones done. So you're getting in the proper movements and not speed through these. So again, if they're right-handed, we teach them to do left, right, left. The first step is more of a hard plant step. Then they do a quick right, left, they jump up, and then they come down. Again, and this is something I focus on, and I know a lot of parents are listening to this, which is awesome. And I've talked about it to the girls a little bit, but they don't think about it right now. Again, they're so young, they're not thinking about it. Landing properly and how many injuries occur due to landing improperly, whether that be jumping, running and trying to stop quickly, a lot of deceleration. So I am, again, coming from a strength and conditioning field and also working with a lot of athletes who are post-rehab and rebuilding up that strength. It is very important to me, especially in girl athletics, to make sure that the mechanics of the knee are done properly. And so I tell the girls when they go and do it, I said, I should not hear y'all. I weigh about 275. They do not weigh anywhere near that. If they don't hear me, I should not hear them, let alone a full gym sounding like thunder coming down. I want the girls, even at a young age, to learn how to land softly, to absorb the forces correctly. Because again, if they're even doing this now at 8, 9, 10, give them 10 more years on top of that. And a lot of girls experience knee injuries in sports, and a lot of times it's non-contact. It's, especially with the female anatomy. I'm gonna break this down a little bit more and kind of tell you why my expertise from my other field translates well to this. In females, based on anatomy, usually the hips are going to be wider to allow for childbirth, unlike a male. So men are a little bit more straight down, where girls, the hips tend to flare out, the knees come inward, creating this valgus position. Now, by doing this, this is why a lot of girls, especially when they go to decelerate in sports like soccer or even volleyball, when they land, they end up suffering a lot of knee injuries. Because again, the hip is here, the knee is here, and the knee tends to cave in. So, and you can notice, especially parents, notice in your younger daughters who sit there, like if they sit, a lot of times they'll bring their knees in or their knees cave in, especially in volleyball when we have them in that ready position. And I preach, I want that your hips are square, your knees are underneath you, or actually a little bit wider. What I don't want is the knees caving in and the hips out. Yes, the position of the sport will ultimately put them in that, especially if they have to dig the ball and get down low. But we want to build up the muscles of the quads, so the upper part of the leg, yes, the lower part as well, but really focus on the upper part of the leg staying strong. That way it's able to help the knee not cave in when they do certain movements. Again, deceleration, running and stopping quickly, or coming off a jump and landing too. So this is all for injury prevention. Now again, the girls are not thinking about that. Those who are a little bit older probably have, because they've probably experienced some of that, but the 9-year-olds are not thinking about their knees. But I've said it before, and I truly mean this, because again, I have worked with female athletes for a long time. You're not thinking about it right now, but I'm worried about you when you're 20, when you're 25, when you're 30, when you have a family, when you have kids, and you want to go chase after your little kids and do stuff. I'm more concerned with that later on in life, of you not having suffered a major knee injury based off of improper mechanics or bad coaching. Now, some coaches don't know this, that's totally fine, but again, coming from my background and working with so many athletes and making sure that they're able to rebuild that strength back up, it's very important to me to make sure the girls land correctly. So I try not to give them that super long explanation in practice, but I want them to understand when coach says land softly, he means it. And it's learning to absorb those impact on their joints. Again, for all of us who are a little bit older, I'm 35. I can't tell you, my age and my training age from what I did for sports for years is two completely different things. And that's part of the reason why I got into the fitness industry in the first place, because my coaches, they pushed, and this goes for a lot of coaches. Again, the mindset has changed a little bit, but majority of coaches, and this isn't just Parks and Rec, I'm talking like high school and other level, they only care about what you can do for them right now. They don't care about what you're going to be when you're not in their program. Unless it makes them look good and you're going to college, you're playing on, they're going to try to get the most out of you in that current time. They're not worried about you when you're 19 years old, you're done with the sport, you've had all these injuries. Yeah, they may have some sympathy, But the coaches are trying to get out of you what they can with your body. It is what happened to me. It is why I missed an entire year of my junior year of football, because we were taught, and I will get on this one later because it is coming, I promise. There's so much more content coming that's not necessarily volleyball related. I've got a lot. And because I've been in the industry for a long time. I went through sports myself. I started lifting weights, and I'm talking like serious lifting around 12 years old. But I had coaches in high school who pushed Olympic movements. If anybody knows what I'm talking about with Olympic movements, you're talking like clean and press, you're talking about snatch lifts. Some of you are like, what the heck is that? A lot of these major barbell lifts where you're exploding the barbell up with the floor, hang cleans, power cleans, a variety of this stuff. They are a sport in and of themselves. And when you have athletes who do not know how to do them, or coaches who know how to teach them properly, you have a lot of problems and a lot of injuries. I am somebody who suffered a severe back injury due to improper coaching. And I told myself after I got through and I got into this industry, I will do everything I can to prevent this from happening to other kids. Because again, I missed an entire year, my junior season, doing it. It also left a very, very bad taste in my mouth between me and that coaching staff. That led to other things, and I know eventually it will come up because I will talk about it with my background more in my athletic career and how it led me into this field. And there's a lot of coaches who get into this because of what happened to us at a younger age to want to prevent that happening to other kids. So it is very important to me. I know we cannot prevent every injury. I totally understand that. But trainers, coaches, we're the first line of defense in a lot of ways to protect these athletes, and we want to make sure that we're doing it correctly. So I focus big time on proper mechanics, landing softly, absorbing force, absorbing impact, the movement, which is going to come back here in a few minutes when I talk about the drills. I don't expect people who are not in this side of the industry to completely understand that, but that is my priority. Safety is number one. Now, I know I've told you some other stuff about having fun and this and that, but I have different goals. I have my volleyball goals, I have my coaching goals. Safety is number one. It's not about what you can do for me as an athlete. If you are hurt, you're not helping me, okay? I got to keep you safe. I got to keep you moving, not just for now, but years from now. So safety is the number one thing. Outside of that, yeah, it's to get you stronger. It's to get you faster. It's to improve your technique. But safety of the individuals in which I coach is my number one priority as far as from my professional background. The coaching side, different, but still, I do care about safety. It's just when I tell people like, hey, my number one goal is to make sure that we all have fun, we get better at the sport, and then ultimately from there that we build on those other things. But again, I am a stickler for technique and form. I am that way in my professional career for anybody, and I do have some people that I work with who watch these videos. You know it. I comment on technique all the time because I truly care. Yes, it cannot be perfect at all times. It can't. And if you try to make it perfect all the time, it's just not going to happen, especially in a sport environment where it's chaotic or even doing some of these movements. But there are fundamental patterns that we need to follow, that our bodies should follow, that significantly reduce the risk of injury. Because again, it's not about what you can do for me for now. It's that, hey, maybe when I'm at this point, late 40s and my 50s, maybe I'll see some of these girls again, and they're going to not have the injuries that a lot of the other athletes have sustained throughout their career, which is also one of the reasons, and again, this kind of off on a side note for this, but why coaches, high-level coaches, do not want girls. They should not, but a lot of them do not, and a lot of times it's hard to get recruited. Do not want an athlete playing the exact same sport year-round at a young age. Girls should diversify the sports that they're playing and not just continue to do the same movements and patterns. Now again, at this age, they're learning so many different movements and fundamental stuff. But if I have a girl who's just 4 years and has never taken time off of volleyball, and she's always swinging, eventually there's going to become dysfunctions that happen with this one side versus the other side that's not. It happens a lot in baseball players. This is a major deal why a lot of kids struggle. Like when they're young, their parents and their coaches burn their arms out for pitchers, and they're getting elbow surgery at a young age. Stuff that should not be happening. Kids should play a multitude of sports. Even if they're not in sports, they should play and run around and do different stuff. But if you have a girl who gets 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, chances are good she doesn't want to go to the playground and play anymore. She wants to play her sport, but then her physical activity outside of that revolves around physical education, which may not even be in sports. and especially in school, it may just, a lot of times schools are getting rid of it. So you do want to diversify and play a multitude of different sports and do a variety of different things, especially at a young age. Parents, if your girls are in my mini league and they are young, or even if you have kids younger than that, get them doing a variety of sports. It will benefit them so much more later on, and they will do so much better than that. Than kids who just stay at that one sport. And I'm telling you, when coaches a lot of times start asking for recruiting and they find out that, hey, my daughter's played whatever, my son's played this sport for so long with no time off, it creates a lot of problems. It's one of the main reasons when I was down in Texas training, I stopped working with baseball players because their parents lied to me. Their kids were pitching all the time. They were throwing. I had a kid who would pitch. His nights off, he would catch. He's constant throw. The kid's like 10 years old and he's having severe elbow problems. And the parents, oh no, he's not playing. He didn't play. But the kid's gonna tell me. I said, did you play last night? Yeah, I played. They're lying. I got so tired of the parents basically thinking that their kid is gonna be the next all-star. Chances are good it's not going to happen. Now, again, men's sports, boys, yes, you have a higher opportunity to go to the professional level than female sports. The competition level's higher. But at the same time, too, chances are good little Johnny, little Billy, or little Tiffany or little Sarah is not going professional. Even my kids, and I'm their coach, I don't expect them to go professional by any means. Do they want to play college athletics? Heck yeah, they do. If it was up to them, they'd play for TCU. Well, so you'll see if you follow this journey, if I can get my kids there, you never know what's going to happen. But in the reality, majority of them are not going to make it. I would say in this day and age, it's probably a little bit easier to because people are getting lazier, especially with kids. So if you have a child who focuses on it and really does what they need to, they probably have a better chance, a little bit easier to get recruited to as far as like videotape and stuff goes. And I know I'm kind of off on a little tangent here, but I just want people to understand, do not constantly force your kids to play the sport year round. It's not necessarily going to make them better. I promise you, if they play the seasons, like if I have two identical kids and they go from one season to the next, and again, we're talking younger age, I would even say this an older age too, and they just go from one to the next, but then I take that same kid, so let's go with the 3 seasons. So first season, second season, third. They play 1, 2, 3 seasons in a row all year long. You give me a kid who plays one season, the same kid, they take an off season to focus on strength and conditioning and fitness, injury prevention, which is part of that, and then we go back to that season again. That kid who took that off season and especially focused on the right stuff. Again, they didn't sit around, they focused on the right stuff. They're less likely to get hurt, and chances are good they're going to be so much better performing athlete because they focused on the other things. Fix the imbalances, get stronger, get more explosive. There is, done correctly, there is major benefits to taking that time off and focusing on just general fitness or strength and conditioning. So, long story short, which brings it all back to it, if you are a parent who's watched my practice, or if you're another coach, I do know other coaches watch this, and I know you watch my practices too. I've seen it, and that's okay. I'm glad you do. I want to help out, and I can learn from other people. I have coaches teaching me, and still in the fitness industry, I have a mentorship and coaches that I follow in the volleyball industry. I'm still learning. We should all learn, and we should all look to do different things. And again, we don't all have to do the same thing, but I am so focused on keeping the athletes safe long term. That's my goal. We want to win too, but safety and the long term, just of these girls after they're done, I want to see them, not be in pain all the time. And again, I know everybody gives me a hard time. Oh, you're only 35. Yes, I can only imagine how rough I'm going to feel. Because again, when I get up in the morning, I've got double plantar fasciitis. I've got all sorts of injuries. I've got back problems that I dealt with for years. And a lot of times I know how to get out of this stuff. But again, because of the injuries and the problems I sustained for years of putting my body through this, even in high school, ultimately it led to long-term problems. Now, don't let this discourage you from your kids playing. I got your kids, okay? I'm gonna help out. I'm gonna do some other stuff with them to make sure of that. Hopefully, and it has gotten better. A lot of schools now are actually hiring professionals in this field. Just because you played a sport does not mean you know anything about how to train athletes, okay? And I get this at a lot of levels. I've had this through my entire career. Even strength and conditioning is still relatively in its infancy of realizing what athletes can do in the development. It's still continuing to grow. There's stuff 10 years ago that I would never have my clients do to this day. And I thought at the time it was good for them then, but we've just learned so much. So ultimately, long term, keep the kids safe. That's why we focus on that. and making sure that that warm-up is good and proper. There is a reason why I do it, and I have it done that way. So when they do the explosiveness stuff, they land safe, they learn those patterns. Then when they actually do them, when they go in the game or they even in practice, we keep them safe, we get them stronger, we get them moving better and feeling better. All that stuff combined into one. So that's why I focus more on the dynamic warm-up and really teaching the proper mechanics versus just let's toss the ball in the air and have the girls try to jump up and hit it, because it's going to be ugly at this age. So we want to make sure that they're doing it correctly. And again, this is the stuff that I care about with the athletes. And that's why I'm trying to bring my expertise from my industry and what I've been doing for years into this and combine one heck of a program. So far, I think we're doing pretty good. We're going to continue to grow on that. So that is the warm-up that we did. We did that same exact warm-up in the Thursday practice as well. We focus on it like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, good long-term. If you only had an hour, could you still do it? Should you do it? I would probably say you should, because it is very important. But we got 2 hours. That's a nice thing with this. We have that time to make sure that the girls can really focus on what they need to. So getting back to it, Monday practice, we get done with that. Now we're going to go into movement and passing. And I brought it back from earlier with the side shuffle. This is important to me. Most, especially if they get older, but even at this age, you are 2 to 4 steps. Again, you take a volleyball court, 6 players. You are 2 to 4 steps from almost every single ball on the volleyball court. Somebody is. Not you necessarily if you're in the 1 spot, the server position, and you're talking to get to the 4 or even the 6 over there. But players should be, at all times, all your players should be 2 to 4 steps to every single ball, whether that be forward, whether it be back, left, right, diagonal, whatever. So getting the girls in position, to me, you can teach them how to pass all day long. You can toss the ball directly at them all the time. Chances are good that ball is not going to come directly at them. You need to teach them how to move properly, how to move safely. So we do a lot of movement drills, and I know one of the parents, their daughters missed this. This was one of the most very important parts of the practice on Monday. We did have a player who did not hit the first hour, came to the second, so they missed part of this. If there's one thing I can get your daughter better at this age, it's getting to the ball correctly. Yes, I can get you the technique and the other stuff, but speed, agility, quickness, that's I got you. And if you're there, she's going to get better. If you're not, it's going to take that time, but I will get the players where they need to be. The technique and the other stuff to get the ball, sure, they need to learn that. They have to learn to judge the ball, but getting them there is what I want to make sure that they can do. So we focused a lot on movement, similar to basketball. I have them, take 3 to 4 steps forward, to the side, back, move, turn, different stuff. I need them to get there. Because again, if they're not getting to the ball, and I've said it before, I am a defensive-minded coach, especially at this age. You're going to have some girls who can serve. I would say it's like maybe 30% can serve, 70 really can't, especially as early season. It might even be worse than that. They get better on. What separates the teams from winning at this age outside of just, hey, they can serve, is the defense, and it's getting to positions that they need to. As they get older, yes, blocking and hitting and stuff comes into play. But a lot of them, like I said, they can't even reach above the net, so they're not even going to be doing that. Even if they do hit, and they actually hit and they go downward with the ball, a lot of times the ball, it's not going to be a real hard hit, or it's going to hit the net. You're going to be hard-pressed to find 9 to 12-year-olds, and again, maybe like some elite, like up 12 ones, who really put a good ball or are able to jump and hit. It's just, but most times it's not going to happen, especially at a Parks and Rec level, to build that up. So we got to make sure that they're getting into the positions and doing what they need to do at this age. So we focused about 40 minutes on movement. Yes, we would throw the ball at them eventually, have them hit it back and stuff. The other thing is keeping their eyes up. When they play a game, they'll look at the ball, and sometimes they move or they'll look down, or it's just all over the place with where they're trying to judge a ball at. I've seen girls who will focus on the ball and then they never get there. I see girls who see the ball get hit, they run there, and then they're not judging the ball correctly. The other issue I see, and especially at a young age, and if you are a coach or even a parent, it is watching the girls run with their platform made. I always say you run like you just got off the toilet and your pants are down around your knees. And it's just that position of trying to get there. It's never a good position. The girls are slower. They can't get there in time. And then they're also reaching for the ball. So if they even do get it, the ball's all over the place. They're not getting that platform and creating those angles to get the ball where they need to. So it's trying to get the girls to focus on move first, platform later. So we focus on a lot of movement, having them get to the angles that they need to and do the right stuff. This is where this gets a little controversial with some of the coaching and some of the other stuff. I do not like a crossover step. Could you do it? Yes. And even at high levels, and this is something that even high level, I would challenge a lot of coaches at a high level on this one. So what I mean is a crossover step is, for instance, I have a ball get hit to my left. I would take my right foot, step across my body, turn my body to go get in position to get to that ball. Now, if I get there at the last second and I have to put my arms out, and my momentum's moving, and I try to put my arms out and hit that pass. There are some players who can absolutely do it. I think it is less efficient to do it because at that point now somehow I've got to redirect my momentum to either spin around or then plant and try to redirect my body to get back into position. If you learn how to judge a ball, you could shuffle and get to a majority of those balls to where you would not have to crossover step. And here's where I'm saying, because I think it's better, because I come from, so outside of this, kickboxing and martial arts is my other area that I have focused on for years. I've coached people, I've competed, I've been in it for a long, long time. Footwork, I am such a stickler for footwork. And yes, the other ways can work. I'm telling you though, I have never found myself, even playing volleyball, having to necessarily take that crossover step to get to a ball. If you're quick enough and you can adjust enough, you should be able to shuffle. I don't want the girls bringing the feet together either, because bringing the feet together causes the momentum to fall. They should be able to shuffle over quick enough, get in position, still either get the ball midline or even off midline and still make that pass. So I do not like the crossover step. I know that's kind of a long tangent on something else. It will come back later on because I will bring it up when I show footwork and mechanics. I don't like it. So I want to teach the girls. Now I will still have them do it because they are going to do it every now and then, but I want to focus on fundamentals. So when I have them doing their movement, they're not crossing over their feet, they're not doing that. They're trying to keep their eyes on me, not looking down, focusing on a ball. There's a lot of that we focus on. And that's the same for the Thursday practice. So I bring it up now. It's the same thing that goes for Thursday. We still focused on the footwork and the fundamentals for probably 30, 40 minutes because it's important. Again, I know majority of these girls can serve. And if you can't, and I work with you for 10 or 15 minutes, you'll be able to serve, okay? Now that's not every single time. Even my kids mess up. Heck, even I mess up on serves at times. People are gonna do it. You're gonna hit the net sometimes trying to swing too hard or do whatever. It just happens. But again, I know consistently these girls can serve. I don't want that. I want to blow teams out on defense because defense also shows me effort. Who's willing to get to the ball? Again, you're gonna come to a point where, especially high school, even college, every girl can serve. Now, some are a lot better than others, but every girl should be able to basic serve. Who is going to stand apart is the players that are able to play good defense, whether back row or even front row. So we focused on that. We made a priority of that, and that's where we spent the first part of practice. We got through. It was 1 hour. I just asked, anybody need to leave? Nobody left. The other girl came who missed the other first part of it. And again, that's something that I preach to the parents. You don't have to be there for all 2 hours. I appreciate it. It's an option for you if you can make it, but it's not a requirement. It's just there for those who want it. It also helps build up the chemistry. And I didn't want the girls to feel like they had to be there, but these girls are ready to go. They all stuck around for it. Love to see it. So we end up going into some more of the live stuff. Now, when I do live, I do not have... I let them mix, the juniors and the minis to mix because, and I said this the first week, and I'm still seeing this a little bit, the junior girls need to move their feet. They do. Everybody wants to serve, not everybody wants to play defense and move, or they're just not sure of whose ball it is. Usually, the more girls you take off the court, the more that they do. But when there's 6 of them, they kind of second guess whose ball it is. And especially new in the season, you have newer girls who aren't sure of calling the ball. That tends to happen. The minis right now are not like that. I'm super impressed with that mini squad. Like, the girls know that ball goes over, somebody better go after it. And the minis are really, really pushing hard to try to move after the ball. They may not have the perfect technique of passing or getting it back over, but I'm not having the lack of effort on them. The juniors, I don't want to necessarily say it's a lack of effort. It's more of an uncertainty of who's going to get the ball. And I even teach, here's your spots, here's whose ball it is, get after it, move, try to do it. And not all the girls. There is some times where you see some really good movement. I would hope it'd be better. By the end of the season, even mid-season, you play us, good luck. Just heads up. And I'm serious on this because I know this team will be great at this. And so, you know, I mixed them for that, but they weren't hitting back and forth at each other. I don't need a girl who's 12 cracking it on some 9-year-old and she hits it deep and the girl doesn't take whatever. So they're not going live with that way. But we are throwing the ball in. It's good for the younger girls to see how it kind of works who have never played before, even the older girls who have never played before, maybe not even watched volleyball on TV or really paid attention to it. So we did a little bit of that. It went okay. It definitely could have went better, but same thing. The more people are on there, you give me 4 on the court and people run. They get after it. You give me 6, they get a little, I don't want to take the ball from somebody. And I've made it clear in practice. If the ball's coming at somebody and they don't call it, you go for it, they don't get out of the way, it's on them. I know I preach safety, but you can't just stand there. You can't. You're either going to get hit by a teammate or you're going to get hit with a ball. You got to do something. So when coaches say talk and communicate and don't yell, not mine or something else, try to go for the ball or speak to your teammate. Like, hey, I'm not feeling comfortable covering this seam or this area. Can you help me with that? And I will do a lot of that with players who are a little bit less likely to go after balls next to a player who's a high motor, high effort player. That way, if the girl who's not hits it up, my high motor girl's ready to go to save it, or at the same time, if she's not really there, the other girl's going for the ball. And I want that. I don't necessarily like 2 high motor players playing next to each other. Now, yes, as they get older, they understand it more. But at this age, I don't necessarily want that because bam, then you have the problem there. So you will see with lineups and rotations that I make, I don't make my rotations based on who are the 6 best players. I find complementary players towards each other and who's good leaders and who's willing to help each other out. So that's the deal with my lineups, which I will talk about here in a little bit. So I'm going to keep going because this is getting long, but I like this. I like giving you the nuggets. And people are watching, so I want to provide that information to you. So we did that. Maybe for 20 minutes or so. And then, because I felt like the back row started to get it, but the front row was struggling. Now, at this age, the front row is a little bit different. Most girls are not blocking and really hitting because the sets are not great. The footwork in order to get back, in order to hit properly, to take those approach steps and hit, not necessarily there because the setters, if you're not getting the ball, most girls don't back up, anticipate that a set is coming. So for instance, if I break this down, server serves it. Say the back middle player is the one who gets it. She pops it up to the front row. So that's one hit. Then your front row girl should set. Okay? So she should set. If she's not a good setter or doesn't know how to set properly, she'll probably hit the ball either over the net or directly to the other 2 front row players. Because again, I'm not running a rotation at this age. With the girls, I necessarily don't think you need it. Could you use it? Absolutely. You could do one. I think it's more confusing than anything else. I want the girls playing all positions. I don't want a girl just getting in one position. Also, at the same time, in this league, we're not allowed to rotate or substitute unless there's an injury. So those 6 stay out there. I don't want some girl just overwhelmed, paralysis by analysis. She has no idea where to go. So I have my 2 front row hitters. If my setter gets a set and she's going to set it, those other 2 outside hitters need to take a step back. That way they can get their approach to come up. But majority of time, instead of actually taking that step back, they see the ball go to the setter. They just turn and face the setter. That way, if the ball does come up, if they do swing, it looks like that, or they just pass it over the net. Again, that's at the young age. There are some girls who can hit. My Jefferson team, they could hit. We had setters and hitters, and I love to see it at that age. This team can, if they learn it throughout the season. But right now, that's not the focus. We're going to improve on that stuff. I don't hit them with the advanced stuff, leave out the fundamental stuff, because that's like building a house on the sand. It ain't going to do no good if you don't have the foundation. We got to build that foundation up. So A little bit different with that. So the front row really struggled. Plus, girls hit high in this league for the most part. So having a blocker in the middle usually isn't great because chances are good she's not going to block. Also, if she jumps and the other team just hits it over her head, the other two front row players need to get over, or even the back row, to help come up and cover her zone because she's airborne. She can't like land, come, turn around and get the ball. She's got to come back down. So I don't really teach blocking at this young age, but I do teach net defense, and I do care that you track the ball with your feet and not your eyes. If my back row player hits it and I'm seeing that ball come, I'm shuffling with the ball. This is why I don't teach that crossover step. If you shuffle, you can get there. And I can also get to that set right. If I see the ball coming and I think it may go over the net just a little bit, not very far, even if it goes far, you should still track that ball. You shuffle with your feet. If it comes close to net, you're right there to take that ball over the net. But the front row really wasn't doing that. They were kind of watching more, or they would get like the back row player would hit it, the front row would try to hit it behind their head over the net, which I don't like. So wasn't a fan of that. Just didn't like really where the front row was going. The back row was starting to get it. The front row wasn't as much. So we played short court. Short court is a game that I do that is, again, it's the very short white lines, not very far. And if it goes out of that, it's out. It is net defense. It is setting. It is in teamwork. Who is willing to get the ball if it hits the net and there's a short hit? I love that short court game. I mentioned the other one, my kids killed it. They've played it a lot. They can even beat higher level girls, and they did it again. And this isn't just my daughters. This is the kids that I have worked with through a few years. They know how to defend the net. And that very first one, there was a mix. The juniors and minis could mix. My two daughters, Alina and Addie, and one of the other girls, Brooke, who's been with us for a few seasons. Again, they're relatively short compared to most of the other girls. They dominated that game. About 80% of the time, they were the king or queens of the court on their side. Everybody else was coming in to challenge them. So if you win, you stay. The other team, they lose, they move out, a new team comes in. They smoked them. I don't care. This is the other thing with egos and some of the other stuff. Every girl can get better at this. Every single girl. It is an effort thing. Even if you have a player next to you who's not great, eventually that ball is going to come to you. At this age, this goes for parents and athletes, everybody can improve. Every single person, even professionals can improve. You need to work on this. And I did not see a single girl who really dominated when we were doing the 6-on-6 in that front row. This is why I brought this in. So we do it, and Alina is still supposed to be in the mini league. Addie is still supposed to be in the mini league, and Brooke are all supposed to be in the mini league based off of age. They smoked the junior team. Even the older girls were getting beat by them almost every time. I think they lost like once or twice. They moved out, they came back, they won it again. It went right back into the queen court position. Those are younger kids who cannot jump up to the net, cannot do that. Why did they beat them? Because if the ball hit the net, the other girl was there ready to play the ball off the net and move. Where a lot of times one girl hits it, she stands there, the other two just stand there. My kids, they clump together and they get in and get after that ball. And that's what, and again, not just mine, but Brooke included. They dominated that game being younger kids. So I know some parents think that maybe the joint practices are not the best. I'm telling you, they're the best bet for these girls at this age because they dominated the girls who would have been in the junior division and are in the junior division. So, and it's good for the younger girls to see. You don't have to be that old. It's about the technique and it's about the effort to go into it. So we did that. That's the Monday practice. We had a birthday. It was Addie's birthday on Tuesday, but we sang together as a team once again on Monday, celebrated her practice, broke it down, got out of there. Pretty good, pretty happy with the way the practice on Monday went. Thursday, similar thing. Get them in, get them movement, get them going, landing, doing the correct stuff. Then we went to a little bit more advanced passing. So you're passing to the left and right. The balls aren't just coming directly centered to the girls. They're having to shuffle. They're having to move, which I liked. Then I had the coaches. So like I was working with the minis. My two other coaches working with the juniors. So like mine is in the middle, like one side on this back other court. It's one court, but you know, like it's separated out. The juniors are back here. I go behind the net from the center. I'm throwing to the minis. The coaches are behind the net throwing over to the juniors. And they're starting to see the ball come over the net. How to judge, how to move and stuff. Again, much, much better. Liked it. It's like, okay, now let's do this where you're going to be with your teammates. So now I separate out juniors on one side and minis on the other. Again, they're not scrimmaging and going against each other. I don't want that. That's not the point of this. You can still get better without that side of stuff, because all I have to do is I have coach serve to you, or I serve to you. Your side can work on passing and returning. That's fine. The minis, the same exact thing. You don't have to scrimmage these girls against each other. They can absolutely practice together and get better. And I'm already seeing the minis, same with the juniors, but I'm seeing the minis already really do better with these two practices and getting more time. Again, I said it before, the most important thing for the girls at this age is to get more touches with the ball and more touches correctly. It's not just taking a ball and hitting it up and down all the time, because again, that's not realistic for volleyball. It is just time and experience, and that's another rep. Because we've done the 2 joint practices, those minis, juniors included, but the minis too, they have 2 more hours on most of the other teams. Now, there are other teams who do dual practices if the coach teaches 2 teams or whatever, but for now, that's why I've been able to see such an improvement already in them, and that's what I want. In the juniors, the same thing. If the minis are out here going after every ball, why are we standing around and not doing that? Now, again, not every girl, and there's some girls, it's just getting used to the sport, and I understand it. That's part of it. Again, I don't coach perfection. I want effort. You give me the effort, we can get you the technique, and then everything comes from there. So, anyway, we do it. Again, I'm tossing the ball to the minis now. And all 6 of them are on the court. They're getting a feel for, hey, here's how a real game works, because we've got to set them up before they just show up Wednesday and not know how. I'm tossing the ball, and I'm getting so many contacts on the ball, and I love it. Yes, every once in a while the ball would hit the ground. It's just harder for some of the girls to judge. And again, they're Scooby-Dooing. Their feet are moving. They're just not getting into the position. But there was a lot that I really was happy with. And again, I don't even care if the ball went out at this point. I'm just happy we're making contacts. And believe me, and parents who've been in this, you know, hopefully you don't see it all season, but the first couple weeks are just ugly volleyball. It's a lot of serving into the net, a lot of serves that don't get over the net, and it's just, it's poor. And that's okay. They're new to it. It's totally fine that it's like that. But I could see our girls hitting the ball, and even if it goes out, I can just look at them, look at their parents smiling, and that's what I love to see. I don't care if it goes in. It's just, hey, she made the effort to get to that ball. As she gets more experience, that ball is going to be going over the net, and that's what I love to see. But it's just, it's awesome when the girls come up to me and they have that excitement, like, Coach, I got the serve over, I hit the ball. Or they look at their parent and they smile. Because a lot of these parents, you might have went out in your backyard and tossed the ball a little bit. This is a lot different. And again, I've mentioned before, volleyball is a tough sport. There's a lot of people watching. There's a lot of girls watching. It very fast, and you can't, like in basketball for the most part, and again, not that basketball's not, you can have a kid pretty much never touch the ball, and they can run up and down the court and kind of do the other stuff. You can have one player take over the game. Not really the same way in volleyball. One player cannot win it and just do it all themselves. But maybe if they serve a bunch and you never rotate servers, but you need all the girls involved. So that ball is going to come to you eventually. It's a matter of, are you ready? And I would also see the girls, if the ball got hit out, other girls would chase it. They would protect the net. I love what I saw the minis team. I am super excited for that team. And I am the juniors too. It's just, I'm so used to coaching my own daughters, and I know what to expect out of my daughters. They know what to expect, and even working with their friends. To have a team that doesn't have them, and I cannot rely on Alina and Addie to be like, hey, like, focus in, take over this game. This is your game to take over. It's different. So I have a different level of pride in this mini team, because I don't have my daughters to rely on, that I know the kids are putting in the extra work. I know these kids are, and I love to see it. And so I'm really excited for this minis team to see what they do and how they grow throughout the year. So I was overall very happy with that. The juniors team, it took them a little bit. It took them a little bit to get moving, but then they started getting some real good balls. And not just, pass. There was even a set, there was a swing and a hit, there was some other stuff that I like to see, and it will come as they build up chemistry. And I told them going into this, I said, this right here tonight, this is where I start to build rotations. I find out who has the chemistry together, who's willing to move. Nobody is safe. My daughters they're not guaranteed starters by any means. I wasn't going to start them in Jefferson. And I flat out told them, you have to prove your spot. Because again, I'm dad, but I'm coach. And I'm not going to die on the hill if I want my kids to play extra, but then they're the two who are out there messing up. I don't want that. They know that they're held to the higher standard, even from other fans and other parents and stuff. These are my kids. I would, again, they're not always going to be perfect. It's not going to happen. None of us are. But you should know, well, yeah, that's the coach's kids. They're younger. They're playing up. They're doing that stuff. And I expect them to play well, but they're not safe from starting. But they did good. They gave their effort. They did because they know what to expect. And again, when I say starters and bench, like A team and B team, it does not mean that a girl on B is not good enough to play on the A team or the starter team. It's about the chemistry between the girls. This is why we were able to beat a lot of the teams, and we cleaned up last year, and there was a reason why. On my starting team, a little tip for any of you coaches watching here, I'm going to give you my heads up on this. Not that you don't know it, but most teams will play their 6 best girls right off the bat. I do not do that. On my A team, and I don't care if I'm giving you a tip or not because I trust my team. My A team is a majority of the best girls. 1 to 3 of those girls are not there, but they are set up with really good teammates who are not going to let them get down on themselves if they don't do well, who are not going to give the effort and help them out, and are not going to provide that leadership on the court. I do not stack my first team. And why? Because if we stack the first teams, and I'll take my first team, and I knew this going into the playoff last year. If we went to a third set, we weren't losing that game because I knew my main 6 best players were going to beat the 6 best of any team if we got to it. I knew it. I have no problem saying that. I knew it was going to be like that because I knew what those girls were capable of, but I didn't put the 6 best in together. Now we got to that championship game, and credit to the other team, they went after my 2 girls who struggled a little bit. They were trying. They were just, bad balls were happening. But in this league, you get 6 serves in a row, and after that 6, a rotation has to occur of the servers. Going back to the championship, and I will bring this back to this one because it does matter, and I want the parents to understand this, and I did mention it in practice, but for anybody else, you're going to get an insight into my coaching philosophy at this age. Going to that championship game, the other team jumped up on us. I believe it was like 13-1. And I mean, we had already beaten them, and we beat them pretty good before. This is a good team, though. We play week 2. And I knew, and I remember Alina looking at me, and she looked at me, she was on the front row, and she's like, call a timeout. And I could see tears in her eyes. And there was a lot on the line for this because this team had went undefeated the entire year. Now it's time for the championship. This is a team that they beat before, but they knew this team was tough. And she looks at me with tears in her eyes, and I could still see it. Call timeout. And I just said, relax. I know they're fine. This is where coaching matters at this age. She took a deep breath, and then the other team, they got their points out of their two best servers, and then the rotation came, where now they had players who were good, but the serving wasn't up there. And as soon as they missed a serve, we had a girl, Braylon, on my minis team. She came up 6 in a row. Now we're back in it. So we're still down by quite a few, 6 or 7 points. Alina comes up 6 in a row. Now the game's tied. Next server comes up. I believe she got 4 or 5 in a row. And now the serving takes over. So we get to that second set. We end up winning that set like 25-17. But I'm talking the comeback. If you were in there, and again, we came in like, everybody knew us, like, who, from what we did throughout the season. You started that game, and we the first time we played that team, we went through them pretty easy. They're good, but we went through them, and we knew coming back in us. And now this is why I like this team. And I don't know if their coach would ever watch, whatever. I admire your team, and I admire what you guys do, girls do, from the standpoint, because the fans, it was like a movie. And it's like our fans, quiet. The other side, I mean, they're rocking and they're loud, and it's like this is the big fight feeling. Like, you ever, like I kind of mentioned one of the other things. You ever seen Rocky? Usually at the start of every fight, Rocky gets smoked, and then it's the team with the more heart that takes over. Yes, we have the technique and we have the other stuff, but it's the heart, it's the determination, it's what flips the line of the battle as you go into it. And then we just started rallying off, and we ended up getting them out. So we beat them in that first one. Now the mindset just completely flips because they were up by a bunch and they lost. This happened to me in the Jefferson League. We got way up, we couldn't finish it. The other team came back up, and then it just drops. Momentum in winning that first set. You're not always going to win it, but most of the time in this league, winning the first set is just a major mind thing. So I knew coming into the second set, because I didn't put all my best players in that first set, I knew that it's like, okay, if my first set is like if you grade out your teams, like I have an A, like my first team, that they're like an A, and my second team is like a C. They're okay, they're learning, they're whatever. I go more for like B, A minus to B to B. And I feel like my two Bs will beat your A and your C. Because I know my first team, and I will take those. And then if we get to that third set, we're going A plus on that team to where every girl who steps on that court can play. And that's what I wanted to make sure. And again, I know that's long, but again, just because if your daughter's not in that first group, does not mean she's not one of the best players on the team. It means maybe I feel she's in a leadership role that she would be better to serve the other girls who are with there, and vice versa on the other side. So I don't stack my lineups with all the best players. I feel that depending on how many I do, I feel that my 4 are capable to beat the other coach's 6. And by doing that, that leaves me with a couple other girls who are ready to come back in. Again, this league, you have to substitute. This wouldn't be the same, or you can't sub. This would not be the same if you could sub, like you had to sub and you run real rotations. I'm playing on the rules that are provided by the league. I know that when my B team comes in, it's not a bunch of girls who can't serve and can't play. There's other good girls on that team. There's other leaders on that group of girls. So it's not just about, this is the 6 best, these are the 6 who need improvement, and we're sticking with that. And again, to kind of bring long story short, my daughters are not safe. None of the other girls who have played for me before are safe to be guaranteed first spot players. I pick complementary players. Who's willing to go up to the girl when she messes up and give her a high five and put her arm around her and say, we got you. And even if you mess up 1, 2, 5, 10 times, we're here with you. Because she's automatically going to be hard on herself. You know, she feels bad for her parents. She feels bad at the whole thing going on. We don't do that. We build others up. We're not part of what breaks others down. And so when we build those teams out, that's what I look for. And so the other night, and again, I'm going long, I don't care. I want to give you the information. Break this up into multiple days. I had the girls learn to not just, because before other teams do it, but our girls are very good at going up to the other girl and giving them like a high five or something after a good play, even a bad play. But I started doing the huddle up. I want the huddle up now. Hey, we all bring it in. And again, this is time for them to be silly. They don't always know what to say. I don't care if they go in and talk about pastas for 2 seconds. I don't care. Whatever. It's just a time to get all of them in. Let us put our arms around each other. We got this. Great play. Hey, you keep it up. Bad play. That's all right. We're here for you. We got your back. This is the time for them to talk and get used to it. The other thing that would happen a lot of times is like girls would go up, they'd high five 2 or 3 teammates. There'd be a teammate behind them who like puts her arms out. The other girl doesn't see him. Well, then she runs back and then this girl's like, okay. And then she goes back. I don't want that. We all come in together. It's not that anybody's going to feel left out. So we want to build up that chemistry. We started doing that. Then we started throwing that ball in, getting them doing it, and they were doing it and they're laughing and they're having a good time. And I could tell for the parents, thank you for staying and the willingness to stay because you're seeing the enjoyment out of your daughters. I would be shocked if any girls leave disappointed who have been there the entire time. I'm not seeing that out of the parents. I'm getting messages from other parents. I know what's going on around the league. And I'm so happy of what we're building from a social and from a relationship standpoint with these girls. The volleyball will come, but it's secondary. It just is like the icing or the cherry on the entire thing if you're able to win it all and build this up. Because again, I had a team that was 2-8. They were not good. They were starting to get it, but those group of girls wanted to come back together because they enjoyed being around each other, and that's how we built the foundation for that championship team. I don't want players talking about each other. I don't want drama. If you're a drama person, no offense, your services could be used on another team. I don't want it. We're no egos. We're one team, one family, and I know the importance of that when we build it up, and that's what we're doing here. And so I'm seeing that out of these girls, which was awesome. We came in, we broke down as a team. The girls left happy, which is what I like to see, and smiling. There's a few who stay to keep hitting the ball afterwards. We've already been there for a long time, and I know it's tough, and I've told them before, prioritize family time, prioritize dinner, prioritize homework. If you can make it, I'm allowing you to do it, but don't feel like you have to. That goes for any parent. Do not feel like you have to stay the whole time. I don't want you to feel like that. It's an opportunity, but if you get something out of it and your daughter gets something out of it, I am glad we can provide that for you. So that is why we do the joint practices. That's why we're going to continue to do joint practices, and we're going to grow together as one big team, juniors and minis. And if I get to the point where maybe even I start working with seniors too, and I start going through 3 leagues, My wife might not like it, but I would like it. My kids would like the extra time. I wouldn't all necessarily all make them practice together or whatever, but you're part of the Mountaineer Mite family. You want to be here. I got you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to do what we can for your girls and building them up. Again, not just better athletes on the court. I want better humans outside of that. I want girls who can laugh and get along. And again, this transcends volleyball. They're not going pro. And if they are going pro, it ain't at this age. It'll be way down the road. And if you can build up better kids now, they're better teammates, they're better players, they're better individuals outside of that. And that's ultimately what I want to do. So like I said before, I care about their safety. I care about the relationships that they're making and providing that. And that's the most important thing. And if you do that, even if you don't have the most talented team, you can win. But if you do it, chances are good you're going to find yourself in a situation to win. And hopefully, I do think we will. I will kind of break it down again. This is going a little bit longer. I'm going to shoot under that hour mark. But again, people are watching. So as we get into the games, and I may just be way, way overconfident in this, but I think that we are going to play very well very early on. And I expect this team absolutely has everything to win it all. They do. They have both teams. They have the skill, they have the improvement, they have the attitudes. If they just can come together a little bit more as a team, again, and maybe I'm just wrong of the other talent out there, but from what I'm seeing in the resolve now, you can go the entire, you can win the whole regular season. We won the regular season last year. We got through everybody. Then we got to that tournament at the end, and it was like, okay, can we pull off the entire thing? The full trifecta. Can we get through the entire season undefeated and win the tournament? Because you can go the whole season, but if you lose this tournament, especially my daughters, you're gonna feel a little jaded at the end about how this thing played out. We were able to do that. So yes, you might have a fall throughout the season or a couple falls, but you can come in the tournament and you can just, again, there's a lot of time between now and that tournament to make up and really, really build a team. I think we're gonna have some great stuff, especially later in the year, but early on. I don't want to give predictions necessarily. I just know that I believe if you're a parent on the team, I believe your daughter is ready to go in there and play. And hopefully, and again, she may not do great. That's okay. But I hope that she will have fun in the process of it. And yes, there is times where it hurts to lose. It does. But that's what makes winning feel better. We are going to win some games. We may lose some games, and that's okay. But it's the relationships and what we're building on outside of that, which is far more important long term. Or we may not lose any games, and we may just run through this thing. And if we run through it, it's not about me. It's about the girls. It's about what we are building, and that's the girls. That's the family. That's my assistant coaches, their families, and that's me. And that's what we're all doing together. And if we are able to, again, a 2-8 season, we come back, we win the championship the next year, we go to Jefferson in a league that's full of 11 to 15-year-olds, we get second place. If my girls would have been there, the other two who are out, I still think we win that championship. Doesn't happen. Congratulations to the black team. It's unfortunate we weren't at full force for that one, but again, we're in a league with a bunch of younger age girls. We get second, we come through these leagues and we win this, and then it's just, it's not that validation of like, I know I'm doing this the right way, because I already know it. Again, the 2-8 to the championship prove that we're doing this the right way. I want everybody to feel like they're part of something special. So for all those involved with it so far, thank you. I'm going to continue doing what I can to continue to improve with these girls. If you are watching this, jerseys and shirts. I mentioned it last time. I got another shirt on today, although this looks blue. I know, it's bothering me. That's another story for another time. But jerseys should be in early this week. Monday, hopefully. I'm trying as quick as I can to get those numbers out to you, to where if you are a family member or a parent and you want to support your daughter, granddaughter, whatever, and you want your daughter's shirt that has the Mountaineer Mite logo, has the name on the back and the number, as soon as I get those jerseys, those links are going to be sent to you. You're not going to have them for the first game. You may not even have them for the second. But there's 10 games in the regular season. Then there's a tournament that's like a week and a half long that goes into June. You're definitely going to have them by that third or fourth game to have that, to be able to support your family member, your daughter, whatever. Try to get that to you. I do want to get that out as soon as I can. But there is other gear on there. If you need to get some purple, obviously you wouldn't have for this game. But if you want to wear that, we would love it. I would appreciate it. I know the girls will. We're going to be rocking, literally, one of our chants is that whole "We Will Rock You." So you will hear we're going to do a lot of that because we were starting to get a chance the other night. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad to come out Wednesday. Hopefully the other teams come out prepared. We're going to be prepared. We're going to do what we can. The games will be live streamed on Facebook. I will live stream the games. The 2 games will be 2 separate live streams. I believe the first one I will be posting this week. It's coming. I believe the first game's at 5:30 and the other one's at 7. It'll be a separate stream for the early game, separate stream for the later game. If you have a family member who wants to watch it, go to my page, which the Mountaineer Mike Facebook page. Get on there. Do not, and I don't know, this has happened only once before. There's stupid bots and these things that get in the comments and whatever else. Do not trust any link. It will tell you if you are on my page or you like or follow my page. Mountaineer Mike is going live. I try to go live about 10 minutes prior to the game. Sometimes I can do that quicker than others, kind of depends on it. The games will be live streamed for the families. I did it last season. I don't think there's any problems. They're only up for 30 days, so if they have a really good one, you're kind of going to want to download it. This is not about scouting and looking at other teams. I don't even pay attention to the other teams in this stuff. I use it I keep stats for my girls so they can see it. But I want, like, if you have a relative who's not close to be able to watch it, I want to be able to watch it. Those live streams have had I think my highest was like 350 views. It was a lot. You can go back and watch them afterwards. There was a lot on there. But again, I just want people to get on there and enjoy watching their family members or people they support in that game. If you're an older family and you don't come to the younger one, but you want to watch those little girls and the minis get after it, it's there for you. But the games will be live streamed on my Facebook page, the Mountaineer Mike Facebook page. So do like that. And again, I'm going to be putting out a lot of cool pictures and game day stuff and how many days till game day and stats and stuff. There's going to be a lot coming out there. So hopefully you follow that, like those, share those. The more we just build it up and continue to grow on there. I know this one went an hour, but again, it's a Mike cast. We're going to go a little bit longer on these to kind of get that out for you. I did mention the last one. I do have footage I want to do. I have some issue with the footage. The sound wasn't the greatest. And at one part, about half my footage, there was somebody standing in front of the camera. It happens. We're growing. We're trying to do it better. I may put a little bit of something out there, even some pictures or something, but I may just, I don't know, slap a GoPro on me or something like that to where you can see it. Again, my priority is not to turn this into something about me and building up like the YouTube or the social media side of thing. I want the girls to be able to go back and see this stuff and see the season that they built up and what they accomplished throughout this. Yes, it does help me long term and continue to help grow and build what we're doing here and elevate everything, but it is more about the athletes. Sorry, my kids are upstairs playing volleyball right now. What a surprise there. So again, stay tuned this week. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. We got games, we got practices, we got all of it. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Again, if you want the custom shirt, your special link will be coming. Do not order yet, unless you want to support Alina, which is on the website. Do not order that yet. We'll get you those special links. You need anything else, reach out to me. Again, Wednesday live, Facebook, first games of the season. We're going to go out and get after it. If you need anything, reach out. Other than that, take care. Thank you for sticking around for this long one, whether you watch it in 1 part, 2 parts, or hey, just like episode 3, 3 parts. Thank you all. Have a great day.